to talk about this is Josh Rogin, CNN political analyst and column at The Washington Post. He's the reporter who broke this story. Okay, so just to be clear here, Josh, you're a little farther along on this. You're saying that this appears to be very much underway, this announcement. We at this point are reporting that there is no conclusion, but this isn't under consideration. So what would this look like?
Right, Brianna. My sources tell me that the decision is all but made and that within the next couple of weeks, the president will approve the consensus recommendation of his senior staff to implement a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Olympics. It's a serious but measured move to signal U.S. government displeasure with Beijing's human rights abuses, including the genocide against Uyghur Muslims, without impacting U.S. athletes and their ability to compete in the games. It's a move that was supported by people like Nancy Pelosi and Mitt Romney, and it's kind of a half measure. It's a compromise. It won't make the activists who are calling for a full boycott completely happy, and it won't satisfy the Chinese Communist Party, which doesn't want any protests or a mention of its genocide at all. But I think for the Biden team, it's the way that they can signal that they're standing up for human rights. At the same time, they're not completely boycotting the games like Jimmy Carter did in 1980. And I think this sends the message that Beijing won't be able to burnish its international legitimacy with the Olympics without somebody at least mentioning the fact that there's a genocide going on there.
So it sends a message. How is the message received by China?
Well, to be sure, the Chinese government doesn't like it, and they're not going to like it. And, you know, we saw just this week that President Xi and President Biden made an attempt to improve relations, to ratchet down the tensions. And this flies in the face of that. And that's complicated because the U.S.-China relationship is complicated. So, yeah, the Chinese Communist Party is sure to be angry, but, you know, the only other option is to look the other way at a genocide, which is something that no U.S. government could really do. So, you know, if they don't really like people mentioning the genocide, I think the best thing for them to do would be to stop the genocide. Other than that, I think people are going to continue to protest.
Josh, what can you tell us about this missing tennis star? Her name is Peng Shuai. She leveled an accusation of sexual misconduct by the former vice premier, Zhang Gaoli. And then that post goes down within a half hour, and she seems to have disappeared.
Right. Well, this is a part of a pattern, two patterns, actually. One of, you know, famous Chinese celebrities disappearing, which is weird and awful. Anytime they say something that doesn't match what the government wants them to say, they're punished severely. They lose their career. Sometimes they're erased from the internet altogether. But also we can see this in the context of some brutal and nasty infighting at the top ranks of the Chinese government. You can be sure that the fact that her post was allowed to exist at all is a sign that one faction wanted the other faction's allegations aired, and then they were erased. So there's a lot of nonsense going on inside the top level of the Chinese government. There's a lot of human rights abuses. There's a lot of weird politics that we can't really understand. But, you know, none of that should sort of distract us from the fact that when we have a big event like the Olympics, we want to celebrate our essential oneness of humanity. We want to give our athletes the chance to represent our country. At the same time, we can't let this distracts us from the fact that there are real serious human rights violations going on that affect not just the victims of those violations in China, but all people in the world who believe in human rights. And so that's a complicated thing. That's a problem in the U.S.-China relationship that won't be solved anytime soon. So it's just something that the Biden administration, the rest of us, are going to have to get used to. It's a complex relationship where we have to cooperate with China, but also stand up for the things that we believe in. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah. Josh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.